Greetings, the Astro 30. Pretty excited here again today. A project starts becoming a reality when stuff you've ordered starts turning up. Here on the desk is the main piece of the puzzle of the 15+15 watt stereo amplifier that I'm going to be building. I'm still waiting on some PCBs to arrive, they haven't yet. But this is the 1 unit rack case I was going on about in the first video to this from Ultronics. It just arrived today, a little over a week later. So I need to unpack what looks like, I don't know what this stuff is. It's like that pallet wrap you use, but it's the black stuff, not the clear stuff. Anyhow, I need to get this pallet wrap stuff off, and so we can get to the cardboard box. Now this came from Ultronics. It had to come from Perth for some reason. I'm not 100% sure as to why. Maybe it's a stock issue. I don't know. Now I believe, yeah, it's manufactured in China for Ultronic distributors, so it's obviously a Chinese case. But the way this one is designed is a lot better than the J-car counterparts, which are actually shit in my opinion. Oh look, all it's got is just panels, like front and sides. Well, there's no actual case here. Oh dear. No, it's under all this cardboard. What we got here is the two side panels, and if I can keep it in camera shot and get one out. As we can see, the panel, like the top and bottom, mount through screw holes here. I think this one's for the rear. That would mount on the rear panel, so that's how the rear panel is mounted to the side. There's no ventilation holes on this side or parts for putting in rails. So those are the two sides. This is the front panel, and it's a nice smooth anodized aluminium finish. So it's like the other rack cases you can get from Ultronics that I've used before. It's not a rough surface. I won't touch that too much because I don't want to get too many fingerprints on it, because I will have to get some electroset. I don't know where it's coming from, UK I think, or maybe it was from the Netherlands, I can't remember, which will take a few weeks to get here. I want to do dry rub-on transferring on this and then spray it, and so the panel's got to be clean. I mean, obviously after I've worked it and drilled all the holes, I'm going to clean it again anyway, but that's not the point. Here is the rear panel. Again, it's a nice smooth finish. It's not rough like the J-car case is, and so one of these side panels would mount in like that, and you screw the panel at right angles to it, which makes a lot more sense. I'll put the case together before I finish. There's nothing in there. Here is the screws for the case. This is the ventilated top lid. So all the screws are countersunk, so nothing sticks up. I'll put that, it's got quite a bit of weight in it too, by the way. So put that to the side, and the bottom panel should be, right here. This is the bottom panel. It's got a little bit of a lip here to accept, I believe that's the front edge. But as we can see, it's a completely flat panel, nothing sticking up, no ventilation holes randomly in the thing, which means all my components should fit in here on the bottom just nicely. There is no instructions pamphlet in this at all, which is okay, so you've got to try and figure it out yourself. Alright, well we don't need the box. So, oh my god, that fart stunk. Alright, now I'm going to start with the bottom panel. It was a ripper too. I've got to figure out which is the front and which is the back. Now, I'm assuming, and it's probably a bad idea to assume, but what I need to do is, I know that this part of the side is where the back mounts to. So is that one, and this is where the back mounts to. So I need to figure out how the front panel interacts with the rest of the case. I think, yeah, it's got threaded holes in here, and there's 2 large holes either side of the panel which match this footprint. So this would be where your front panel would sit, but I'm not sure what the holes at the side are for. Could be for anything, but look at the construction of this. Look at the construction. They've used threaded bushings, which are, I'm not sure how they're fused to the panel, but that is a very, very good design, because it's going to be awfully difficult to strip those out. Well, you could still do it, but unlike just drilling and tapping a hole straight into the panel itself and relying on the screw not to strip out, they've used some screw bushings, which is nice to see. So anyway, that goes on there like that, and I see, right, there is a cutout here and here, which I think is for the top panel. This would be the left hand side upside down, because this needs to screw into the front panel. That makes perfect sense. So I've got the sides round the wrong way. So they go over there like that and that. So that just sits on top of. All right, let me just screw one screw into the corner and show you. Right. So this is what I sort of meant. It fits together sort of like with interlocking corners, basically. But it is awfully awkward to get the front panel to agree with what you're doing with the bottom and the sides, and it's like you've got to really contort yourself around to make it, Anyway, so it doesn't matter which way up this front panel goes, because there's the large holes here that the screw passes through to connect to the panel anyway. The top should not have those holes, and it does not. So the holes I'm talking about are these big ones in the corner. These ones here, they're both on the top and bottom. So when you put the top cover on, like that, it covers them up. I think I've got this backwards. This does have an orientation, by the way. That's better. So once the top's on, which is actually quite sturdy, I haven't got all the screws tightened up, obviously. Excuse me, because I don't need them to be right now. But yeah, this case is awesome. I'm liking it. And all the screws that they supplied are the same, so you can't mix them up. What I might do is I might pop the back panel on. I reckon the back panel is going to be the easiest to put on than the front panel was, more than likely. So that should just slip in there like that, and just stay there a minute whilst I find a screwdriver. That's one screw. I'm not going to tighten them up too much because it's all going to come back apart anyway to drill it. So I'm only going to put like 2 screws to hold the panel on. I don't need to put all 4 in. If I can get a screw out of the bloody bag, there we go. I am quite excited now. I'm so happy to see this. I've been waiting all week patiently. You know, every day's come and gone, and it's like, oh, it's still not here yet. Where is it? It's like, yeah, you've got to be patient, Astro, it'll get here. Just make sure that's not going to strip out. No, it shouldn't strip out. If it does, I'm going to be pissed off. Alright, so that's the rear panel on. So I went out to JCar yesterday and I got some of these 30mm screw-on feet, equipment feet, HB0830, and some M4 threaded 10mm long bolts. I do have the nuts in the bag over in the corner. I'm thinking this thread though, however, is too big for the orifice it's got to go through. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the feet on the case now so it stops it from sliding around all over the place and scratching the shit out of it. So I'll take one of the feet out. I'm going to measure it properly in a minute. I just want to see if the head of the screw, or I should say the shaft of the screw, goes through the hole. If it doesn't, I'll have to use a smaller screw, like an M3. More likely I probably will have to use M3. Because I've never actually used these feet before. Yeah, no. M4 will not fit through there. Okay, M3 it is. Alright, so I've marked out 30mm in from each corner respectively, which should give me enough space to clear everything, and I think it'll look alright like that. Could have gone 20, but I really want to clear all the 10mm lips on things on the inside so there's no bolt heads or nuts or whatever coming into contact with things. Okay, so I'll center punch those holes and I'll drill them out and then put the feet on. See how it goes. That's usually why you clamp stuff, so it doesn't do that. Alright, so that's the 4 holes drilled. So all I need to do is take the tape off and deburr the other side. And it was confusing to see because she had a penis. Alright. Pliers that I threw across the room before because they kept falling on the ground due to gravity and it was pissing me off. Might use a bigger screwdriver for this one. Because these won't have to come back off again. I don't think they can stay on there for the whole entire assembly procedure. Because I'm going to do all the drilling on the bottom panel from the bottom side anyway. So I don't have to keep taking the thing apart. I mean, if that makes sense to any of you, but it makes perfect sense to me. But that's because I'm the one doing it. So the next circuit board that's coming for this, well the only circuit board at the moment that's coming for this, there are several, is the power supply. So I'm hoping that this video is not just me assembling a sodding rack case, because that would make for a boring video. I'm hoping to actually have the power supply, PCB, ready to assemble and then mount in this case. So it's sort of like more permanent. Yeah, but it hasn't arrived yet. I'm going to have to be rude and do it backwards on you so you can't see what I'm doing from this side. But yeah, that's the point. Waiting for things is the most, I don't know, not annoying, but it's disheartening because it's like you're really excited and you want this now and you want it right now and you can't have it now because you've got to wait. I mean, I can wait to go to work. Anyone can wait to go to work. So it's not impossible to wait for things. But when you're really hyped up about a particular project that you're working on and you really need this piece to complete it or even get started right now, right this very minute, and you can't have it, that's the frustrating part. The frustrating part is the waiting. But as I say, you can wait for various other different things like waiting to go to work. I don't mind waiting to go to work. I hate waiting around at work. But, come here you son. But, yeah. So I've really kind of lost what I was talking about now. But, yeah, just basically waiting sucks. As Homer Simpson said, the the waiting game sucks. Let's play Hungry Hungry Hippo. So this is the last of the 4 feet to put on here, which will A, stop it sliding around the desk, and B, stop it from scratching the surface up on, especially on the edges and stuff like that. So there it is there, and well, with a bit more weight in it, it won't, but it's now not sliding around the desk too much. I'm gonna have to take the front panel off and make sure all the inside stuff from the drilling is removed before any electronics goes in there. Otherwise it'll start shorting on things. So that's the case in its almost assembled format, and I'm actually quite happy with the quality of that. It looks so much better and more roomier than the J-Car equivalent. And with the top on, it looks like a professional piece of equipment. Oh yeah. Alright, on to something more constructive rather than just looking at a rack case. Well, finally the PCBs have arrived. Well, the power supply ones anyway. That last little bit that I filmed about the rack case was done on Thursday. It's now Monday. So, however, I've got a feeling that there's an issue with the top solder mask on these PCBs. We'll soon find out. So I'm going to open the box and we'll have a look together at what we've got. Well, that's not normal. You know, it helps to cut the sticky tape on the sides. Idiot. I've just wrecked the box, but it doesn't matter. Right. Oh, I've stapled them this time. I've got 2 sets of PCBs in here. I've got the VBE multiplier ones. There's like 20 of them. So I'll put them off to the side. Actually, no, they look alright. They had an engineering question about the top solder mask. Because it was a single-sided board, there would be holes in the solder mask where the components would mount on the top, and they were confused. So they asked, do we just do it as designed or what? Oh, no, there are holes in some of the solder mask. No, it's just the silk screen. Oh, that's fine. Look at that. That looks quite sexy. As I say, it's a single-sided design. This is the power supply board. I'm just going to look for my relay. There it is there. Put that to the side. Just make sure that this fits the footprint, which it does. Beautiful. Now, there has been a change to this layout since the last time you saw it in the CAD program. I've gone with one large capacitor. So I'm going to use one of these snapping capacitors. It's a 4700 microfarad, 85 degrees C, 63 volt working. That should just pop in the board like that. So what I want to know now is what sort of clearance I'm going to have inside the case. I mean, obviously the leads on the other side are a bit too long, so they'll have to be trimmed. But I just want to see the overall height, if I've got enough clearance, because I'm going to use 2 nuts on a M3 10mm screw coming through the bottom of the cabinet with a nut on top. I just want to make sure I've got enough clearance between the top of this with the height of that plus the lid of the case. I mean, luckily the capacitor is insulated on the top, so it's not really a great big issue. So I've grabbed my nuts and I've put them just somewhere in the case. It's not really relevant where. There's 2 sitting down here and 2 sitting up there somewhere. So that'll give me the overall height off the case of roughly about 5mm, 6mm. I think each nut is 2.5mm in height. Anyway, what I'll do now is I'll grab something to put across the top of the case so we can see easily where this capacitor is going to come into contact or not. Okay, got a piece of wood sitting across the top of the case. The reason I'm using that is because well, it's easier to see the circuit board underneath. If I prop that up to roughly where it's going to be, there is no clearance issue. I've got probably all of about 1.5 mil between the top of the capacitor and the top of the case. So that's brilliant. However, I just lost 2 of my nuts. So I've got these nuts. Ah, seriously? Like, really? Can you stop doing that? Alright. Sit that there carefully. As you can see, I've got one of my power cable adapter boards up there in the corner. So I'll just use the lid now. Just clears it. Just clears it. Yep, just clears it. That's touching the top of the capacitor. That's not. So with a bit of flex in the lid, it may touch the top of the capacitor, it may not. Put this back on. Yeah, it may come into contact with the top of the capacitor, but it just fits. Now that capacitor is 30mm high and 30mm round. And if we do the math, we've got an internal height here of, I believe it was 38. So we take the 2 nuts, we say its height is 5mm. Then we take the thickness of the PCB, which is 1.6mm. That's now 6.6mm on top of 30mm, which is 36.6mm. So at an outside we'll say 37mm. Therefore, we've got all of about 1mm clearance between the top of the capacitor and the underside of the lid, which is perfectly fine. But even though those nuts kept moving, that's irrelevant right now. So it's going to live probably down here, and the transformer is going to mount up here. So to finish this video off, I'll assemble up this power supply board. I don't have the connectors, so I'm just going to use fly wires. Also with this mute connector, I'm going to just simply put a link wire in across the 2 pins because it needs to be connected together in order for it to allow the muting relay to work. Because when it's open circuit, the relay goes off. That's the whole entire point. So that will have to be bridged, and that can be easily removed once I include a headphone amplifier with a switch on it to switch that relay in and out. So that's what I'll do now. I'm not going to take much footage of it. I'll just assemble it and then get it ready to mount inside the case, pick somewhere where to mount it. Probably there's a good place as long as it clears the power switch, which it should. Even, yeah, mount it up here further a bit. I don't know, probably about there would be better. It still leaves me a good enough room here, so yeah, I'll come back when I've got this assembled. I've got to go buy some parts for it anyway. Okay, and there it is assembled there. Now, it was relatively painless, however, where this bridge rectifier is, if I can get out of my own shadow, the footprint's wrong. I've used a larger footprint, which I have no idea where that came from. It was in my custom library. Oh well. And the holes were only 1mm, not 1.5. So, okay, I could still use it. I just had to bend the leads over and drill out the holes to 1.5 to make it fit. So it's ready for testing, but yeah, I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to have, it's late in the evening, I'm going to have a relax now, and yeah, we'll pick this up again in the morning. And it was only a 1 beer job. Alright, see you in the morning. Good morning. It's the next day and I'm ready to test this little power supply module. Got it hooked up to the toroidal transformer on one of the secondary windings, not across both, otherwise there'll be 50 volts going up its arse. Don't want that. So there's 25 volts coming off the transformer going into this power supply. Now, I was going to drill the holes in the bottom of the case to mount the power supply today, but I've changed my mind. Not that I've changed my mind on the case, I've just changed my mind on doing it right now. I'm going to wait until I've got the actual transformer I'm going to be using, which I'm going to be ordering this week, and the power supply modules, which are also coming this week, so I can lay everything out in the bottom of the case and just make sure I don't have any major clearance issues or anything, because I've got to leave room for a preamp and an input and output connections. So then I can take the bottom panel off, drill it properly, and then so any crap that's accumulated from the drilling isn't going inside all the case. And also I can put the bottom panel on for the final time and not have to take it off again. The only panels that will have to come off obviously is the front and the rear to drill. But yeah, and then I can mount everything in the bottom of the case and just basically forget about it. So I've got the transformer connected across the dim bulb. This is just in case there's a short circuit or something in the power supply. It's not going to do any damage to anything. And I've got my multimeter set to the voltage scale DC, connected across the DC output of the power supply. So I'm going to turn the switch on and see if we get a voltage and the relay engages. Here we go. Nothing. Okay. Maybe my connections are not that great down here. Let me fiddle around with this and try again. Okay, I've changed the way it was connected. Let's see if it works now. That's better. Relay engaged after about 3 seconds. There was a little bit of current draw there, but not much. And we've got 38 volts roughly coming out of the supply. Very, very good. So that didn't even present that much of a load to the dim bulb. But anyway, that means that that's pretty safe to hook up directly to the mains voltage without worrying about it too much. But a new circuit like this, it's always a good idea to test it on a dim bulb, just in case this main filter cap is shorted or something stupid like that. So the way I've got this wired is across both the connectors here, but I'm going to test that there's an output on the ground connection. Yes, so that part of the circuit is continuous. That resistor is getting pretty warm. That's the current limiting resistor for the relay. Transistor is fine. Yeah, but that resistor is getting quite hot, and it is next to a connector, so I have actually bent it slightly over. So this resistor, I'm probably going to have to watch it over a period of time to make sure it's not overheating. I mean, it shouldn't. Anyway, let's look at what the discharge drop-off is of that capacitor with that 10K resistor across it. Instant relay dropout, voltage is falling off as that 10K bleeds it out. Nice, it's actually dropping off quite rapidly, so that's pretty good. Otherwise, if there wasn't that resistor there, that would be sitting at the 38 volt for a very, very long time, because the meter does not present enough of a load to the circuit for it to discharge. And with this resistor, if it proves to get too hot, I can probably lower its value to 470 ohm, which is probably closer to where it should be, so we're not limiting the current as much, if that makes sense. Alright, so the next thing I should really do is see if the input and output for the speaker connections is actually routed correctly, but that's going to be awfully awkward to test because I haven't put any wires across there. I might do that in just a minute, but right now I'm going to go take a crap. Okay, last night's pizza just came back out. I've got two fly wires connected now to one of the relay switch contact outputs. My multimeter is sitting in continuity mode, and currently we are experiencing open load, so obviously the relay is not engaged. Beeper is on. Bingo. So now I know that the relay's contacts are wired correctly and it's doing what it should be doing. So it's a working power supply. Everything's routed correctly. It's outputting voltage. And the only concern probably would be how hot that resistor is getting. It could be changed, I suppose. Anyway, I'll leave that up to you in the comment land for thoughts. I mean, I could actually use two 1K resistors in parallel and solder it to the board, so that makes it a 2 watt. But anyway, it's really neither here nor there at the moment. Point was to get this working, see if the design works. It works. Okay, so we can move on with our lives. Anyway, I'm going to leave this video here because it's going on for way too long. So I'm going to say that if you enjoyed this video, please remember to rate, comment and subscribe below. And you can always follow me on Facebook and become a Patreon member for as little as $1 a month. And as always, this is the Astro 30 saying, see ya, have a great day. Yippee-ki-yay, mother...